And folks, per usual, I am Kenny C. Alongside me is the real Lil, Cam Jones, and Zach Kroll. Fellas, how's it going?
It's going good, man. I cannot complain at all. This week was a jam-packed sports weekend, and now on Monday, as usual, we are back in the huddle to give y'all, should I say, our takes, and we're gonna do just that. I'm ready to go.
Man, just want to say happy Monday to all you guys. Episode 79, man. God damn, guys. Time is flying. But just want to say, man, yesterday was a great day of football. Well, this past weekend was a great day of college sports and, NFL and all that. Just happy to talk sports with you guys tonight. Let's get it.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Just want to say thanks again for having me. You guys know I love doing the show with you guys each and every week. And I don't know about you guys, but yesterday when I was watching that Chiefs-Dolphins game, it really hit me for the first time, like, wow, we're in December. This kind of feels like a playoff-like atmosphere, and it got me really excited for the next couple of weeks, all the races going on, all the playoffs. And, really looking forward to talking football with you guys today.
Yes, sir.
Defensively, and we weren't able to keep pace with him. He extended some plays. He being Allen and got outside the pocket some. We can't have that. And obviously, we got to possess the ball better. We got to score more points on offense.
Ben, do you feel with everything's headed in the wrong direction, and is something you can turn around or fix quickly?
Yeah, you know what? We've lost two. We're facing some adversity, but we're not hitting the panic button. Offensively, we're not very good. And right now, we're not playing good football, and it starts with me. So, we all need to look in the mirror. And like I said, it starts with me and understand that we all need to be better.
And the first topic, baby, let's get right into this. The fellas from Orchard Park, the Buffalo Bills defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 26-15. Should we be concerned about the Steelers entering the playoffs? I'll start this thing right off immediately. We should be very worried, especially with the way the offense has looked. Looking totally at the offense, guys are dropping balls left and right. Eric Ebron against Washington, Deontay Johnson against Washington. Deontay Johnson last night benched for the game because of it. The run game, perhaps the biggest issue, and has been practically non-existent the past 3 to 5 weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They clearly are not using James Conner virtually at all, and it was evident last night. Second half was like the man wasn't even there. But looking at Big Ben, man, it's clear that Steeler fans should be scared about his knee. The guy himself said if he can't play at a high level and perform for his team, he's going to retire. And, I mean, his mobility, looked very limited last night. Heading into the game, couple stats for you guys last night. Steelers had attempted 104 passes in the last 2 weeks. The results, they barely defeated the COVID-ravaged Ravens, and then they lost to Washington to lose their undefeated season. Also heading to the game, Big Ben was 29th in yards per attempt, and in their 196 total passes, Ben has just under 6 yards per attempt. Last night, they tried to throw 7 to 8 yard passes to try to come back, and at some point, you got to get the long ball going. I know Big Ben and Randy Fitchner had this thing going on where, Fitchner was kind of letting Big Ben call a lot of audibles and, pick his own plays in the huddle, and clearly, we in the huddle right now, we could break down for you that that's not working right now. So Mike Tomlin needs to take over. The defense, they played good despite injuries, and offense is my main focal point why this team could be a one and done.
Well, Tennessee, man, I'm going to piggyback to what you're saying. Despite starting the season 11-0, the Steelers been, they've been in a lot of close victories. You feel me? They're supposed to be beating teams such as the Giants by a blowout, the Denver Broncos by a blowout, the Dallas Cowgirls, I don't call them Cowboys, but Dallas Cowgirls in a blowout. And, in the first half against Jacksonville, they were struggling a bit offensively. I mean, the past 3 games, dating back after the Jacksonville game, this Steelers offense only averaged about 17 points a game, only a touchdown, like 2 touchdowns and a half. I mean, it's just terrible that the receiving core, been dropping too many balls. Over the past, 3 weeks alone, the receiving core has dropped over 15 balls, which is terrible in the NFL right now. I mean, Mike Tomlin, you're the head coach. You've been there for over a decade now. If you feel like you need to make some necessary changes to this Steelers offense, let's do it, baby.
Yeah, the Steelers should be absolutely concerned. And the reason why I say so is that Big Ben in the pocket, man, I'm going to just keep it 100 with both of y'all fellas or all 3 of y'all fellas here and the people. He looks like he's playing with a hospital gown on. He looks like he's not healthy at all. And he made a lot of mistakes yesterday. He threw two interceptions, two costly interceptions. One of the interceptions allowed the Bills to drive down the field and score and gain momentum. You're talking about these short passes that you're trying to throw, but you're not establishing the running game, which is virtually impossible because the Bills defense played great. They jammed the wide receivers of the Pittsburgh Steelers at the line, so they couldn't, use that short passing game to their advantage, especially because they couldn't run the football. When you look at their running stats, they rushed for just 21 yards last week and then 47 yards this week. I mean, you're not going to win. That's not a formula for success. And even though they had a good defense yesterday that gave Josh Allen trouble in the first half, they still couldn't overcome the deficiencies on offense. They should be worried.
I think for me, if I was a Steeler fan, the number one thing looking at this game that would be the most frustrating to me is that in the first half, your defense really did give you a chance to win the game. I was super impressed with the way that they really shut down Josh Allen in the first half of that game. But as you guys know, the game really changed on that pick six. That was a mistake by Ben. Yeah. And I think there are obviously reasons to be concerned. When you look at the Steelers right now, they say the record says they're 11-2, which is fine. But at the same time, over the last couple of weeks, there's no denying their offense hasn't been very good. Deontay Johnson was benched. Ebron can't catch a cold. They don't really have anyone besides James Washington that could get going right now on offense. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I would try to get Chase Claypool more involved. I would even try to get Juju a little bit more involved. And one thing about the game last night that really hit me, I believe Kenny C was hinting at it, this Big Ben, Randy Fitchner connection, it's not ideal and hasn't been ideal for the last couple of weeks. You look at the other sideline, you see Brian Dable just running circles around Keith Butler and that defense. So that's a big difference in the game. Now, obviously, should the Steelers be concerned? Yeah. I don't know how you could watch the last couple of games and say to yourself, okay, there's nothing to worry about. But at the same time, I'm not going to give up yet. I don't think Big Ben is completely washed. I think we've had many quarterbacks throughout the season. Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady kind of look, a little broken down earlier in the season and come back to rebound. Pittsburgh, you look at their schedule for the next 3 games. They have a Monday night game on the road against Cincinnati next week, and then they have Cleveland at home to end. So those are 2 divisional games right there. And I do think if Pittsburgh really wants a chance to make a deep run, that bye was very important, and their defense is super banged up. I get it. I just, I don't believe this narrative that Ben Roethlisberger is done. I don't think the Steelers are done. I think they could really, in the next 3 games, turn it around. And once again, I was really impressed with the way their defense played last night. If their defense could do that again, and Big Ben is just fine on offense, I do think they're still a team to be concerned
about. I disagree with you, Zach. I disagree with you slightly.
Really?
And I know Kenny C was trending in the direction of agreeing with you. And the reason why I say Big Ben is partially done is not because of his talent. I still think he has a little bit to give, a little bit more to give on the football field. I just think mentally, I think he might be done because pre-injury, he already showed signs that he was done. He had a little bit of motivation coming back from the injury, making it seem like he was all in loving football again. And I think now that his body is being broken down even more, I think, you just heard him threaten to retire. I kind of think maybe later on mentally, he may not be able to just complete a football season.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing is here, don't you think that this is a guy that missed basically all of last season, and he worked really hard to come back from injury? We saw what the Steelers looked like last year with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. As bad as the offense is now, it's nowhere near as bad as that. And I just don't think he's built like that. He could say, I'm going to retire. But at the same time, at the end of the sentence, he said, if I feel like I'm not doing enough to help the team win. And he said he could still do that. This is a guy that –
your body will speak for yourself. The body will speak for you. So he has to be healthy.
I was just going to say, prior to injury, and even with the injury, overall, from a stats perspective, he's having a great season.
Agreed.
But, the knee, here's the thing. If Big Ben does go down, God forbid, for the rest of the season, they're done. We can all agree their playoff hopes are Mason Rudolph, regardless of how good your defense is.
We went down that road last year,
They're not going to do much. So I do believe Big Ben is the X factor. If Big Ben's on the field, they definitely have a good case to win games and
also I realize
playoff performance. But the knee is a big question mark.
I realize Ben hasn't played well the last couple of weeks, but at the same time, I think from a big picture perspective, we have to look at that going into last night's game, Ben Roethlisberger had more touchdowns than Josh Allen. He had less interceptions than Josh Allen. And now everyone, look, I'm very impressed with Josh Allen. He's been great. But at the same time, I just don't necessarily buy the narrative that Big Ben is all of a sudden done. I think if the Steelers could gain some momentum throughout the next 3 weeks in winnable games, I still think they could have a chance to make a run.
But I feel like, Zach, like, for instance, the Steelers, right? You know, they scored only 19 points against Baltimore. They scored 17 points against Washington and only 15 against Buffalo. I mean, I really anticipated more from the Steelers offense, especially, you know, with the receiving core and James Washington, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster. But I don't know, after that Jacksonville win, the Steelers offense been going downhill. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, the receiver's not helping Ben enough. I feel like at the same time too, Ben not really stepping up to his throw to make those deep passes. Like, there was one play, James Washington beat Levi Wallace on a go route, and Ben underthrew him, and that's how Levi Wallace ended up making that interception. So either way, I believe like there has to be some type of adjustments need to be made these next 3 weeks in order for the Steelers team to go far in the playoff.
Absolutely.
And when you're not running the football, Big Ben is susceptible to receiving those hits. You know, so I think that you looking at it from a talent's perspective, I'm looking at it from a mental and the running game not being existent to why Big Ben is probably going to retire more earlier than his plans were to retire. And another thing about the Steelers, before I let anybody else get in here, is that I think other than defense, the only thing they do well is dancing on the football field. I mean, pre-game, you see Juju on the Bills logo dancing. That gave the Bills extra motivation to bust y'all ass, and that's exactly what they did yesterday. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs especially, 10 receptions for over 130 yards. He bust y'all ass. So y'all better start sipping that humble Kool-Aid. Otherwise, y'all ass is going home on the first flight smoking back to Pittsburgh.
Well, in that sense, I gotta agree with you. And for me, like, I hate to say it, but that's on the coach, man. Like, I mentioned it with the coordinators. Like, you guys know, I think Mike Tomlin's a fine coach, but I think he's a little overrated. I think he's done a good job this season, but I think the last couple of games have exposed the kind of weaknesses that I've been used to seeing from him over the last couple of years. You can't have your team dancing on that logo pregame. The Bills are literally looking for any way they can to be motivated. You're not going to do that on the road. Cam mentioned it earlier. Juju Smith-Schuster's out here making TikToks, like stuff like that. I just feel like it's a little bit of a distraction. And when you look at it, the coordinators are not good for this team. If Mike Tomlin is as good of a coach as everyone tells me he is, I want to see him make the proper adjustments. There's no denying.
But if AB did it, it would have been a problem. If Antonio Brown did it, so keep that same energy.
What do you mean by a problem? Like,
it would have been a problem if Antonio Brown was the one making a TikTok on the Bills side on the Bills logo. It would have been a bigger story. So the Steelers had the notion of, oh, we moving away from that social media diva-ness. Well, you still got divas on your team, obviously.
Exactly, and that's on the coach, to be honest. So do better.